Let me tell you something about why my husband was killed and why I am now here in Belgium. My husband was assassinated in November 6, 2018. He was, before he was killed, he was been defending the rights of the poor communities for 30 years, and he has been one of the founding members of the National Union of People's Lawyer, and also the Secretary General of that chapter in Negros Occidental. He has been focusing more on many issues such as land ownership issues, environmental issues, especially the mining issues in Negros Occidental. And he has also been working closely and handling cases of the political prisoners who were unjustly accused of false charges, false cases against them. And because of this, he earned the ire of many of the landed politicians, especially in Negros Occidental, the mining corporations, and even the military. He was surveilled, monitored, and he was even accused of being a sympathizer of the NPAs. NPA is the New People's Army. It is the revolutionary arm of the Communist Party of the Philippines. But these false accusations of him being a sympathizer was only done because they wanted to silence my husband, because he has been working on human rights cases, and he has been educating most of the farmers and workers in plantations of their rights to land. So all of their accusations are really baseless. And because of this, and because many of the lands in Negros are only owned by rich families, there are so many conflicts between the farmers, the farm workers, and the landed rich families because of landlessness issues. And so after he was assassinated in November 6, our government signed this Memorandum Order 32, which placed the whole three big regions in the Visayas under state of emergency. And in December 2018, this Executive Order number 70 was also signed by our President, which would focus on the counterinsurgency program of our government, especially in Negros Island. So many military battalions were deployed in Negros, saying that they would be after the insurgents. But what really happened was they started killing the innocent civilians, started killing and harassing and arresting many of the human rights defenders in Negros, many of the communities whose only dream was to have lands of their own. Many of the leaders were accused of trumped up charges.
So this counterinsurgency program, it seems like they used it as a front to be able to make it legal, or to make it possible to harass, or even in the worst case to assassinate certain leaders and human rights defenders.
Exactly. In fact, we believe that this counterinsurgency program was also a connivance between the landed politicians and the state forces, because they wanted to maintain the control over the lands, over all the plantations in Negros Occidental. Agrarian reform program of the government became a failure, especially in the Negros Island.
And when something like this happens in a community where a human rights defender or one of their leaders is assassinated, how does the community react to something like this?
When Ben was assassinated, and even before Ben, there were many activists and farmer leaders already killed. most of our communities were really angry. We were very angry because they targeted innocent civilians. Just because we are vocal on our rights, just because the communities wanted to have their own lands, doesn't mean that they become targets of this government. So these attacks have caused a lot of grief, anger, and we felt disgusted by the way our government responded to these attacks.
And you say, so Ben was assassinated 2 years ago, but this has been happening already for years and years. Huh? How come organizations and leaders still manage to stand up and still succeed to continue their work in such an atmosphere?
Well, even though we felt terrified, we felt anger, we cannot be silenced. We cannot remain silent by the way of all these killings that has been done. We need to stand up. We need to assert our rights. So most of the communities had to transform their anger into a challenge. Because once we become silent, it means that we have conformed to what, and we have agreed to what the government is doing against us. Communities right now felt more challenged, and they are more assertive of their rights. But the only way we think we can achieve, we can reach this freedom is for us to organize more, to educate more communities about their rights, and to mobilize them to take collective actions.